Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Daily Footy and Other Sports with yours truly, Taz, and of course Sean. What are you wearing today?
Ultimate Warrior, may you rest in peace.
Absolute legend. He is being missed, it's fair to say. There aren't many like him. I really hope you guys enjoyed yesterday's video. We just wanted to quickly say as well, I forgot what I was going to say now. What was it going to be? Oh yeah, just wanted to quickly say, if this of course is your first time watching any of our videos, then please make sure you subscribe and click the little bell to ensure, and click on all notifications so you're kept well on track and fully aware when our videos come out. But first and foremost, what are we talking about today?
So on Instagram, Sky Sports hosted an exclusive interview. Jamie Redknapp spoke to Harry Kane. It's been speculated for quite a while that Harry Kane is uncomfortable at Tottenham. One of the close players towards him, a part of the successful dynasty of the Pochettino era, Eriksen, had already left. Dele Alli's allegiance to Tottenham was questioned early in the season. Harry Kane is seen as one of the best forwards in the world. And in the interview, interestingly, he did not confirm that he's committed to remain at Tottenham, whilst he also said that he is still in love with Tottenham no matter what, but he needs to win trophies sooner or later.
Yeah, but is he worth 150 million? I mean, in the current climate, yes, he probably is. But I mean, if you assume what's going on right now didn't happen, would anyone really truly pay that figure for him? I'm not sure.
Here's another question then. Who is doing better than him currently besides the relative view of Ronaldo and Messi? There aren't really that many players that are consistent in the top leagues. I still have my speculations of the French league of Ligue 1 in regards to Mbappe and Neymar, how much they contribute. There's a forward that Huddersfield has had for a while who's seen as the next Mbappe, who joined them after he was at Monaco for a few months. And that just shows you the quality of some forwards coming from other leagues like the French league. So who would you suggest that
perhaps a better question to ask is, are there any other strikers that are young enough as well who are of that caliber? Because Aguero is fantastic, probably one of, if not the best. It's certainly one of the best strikers the Premier League's ever seen. Statistically, he is the best foreign striker in terms of goals, but he is in his 30s now. Harry's 27.
Yeah.
And what have we got? And then you've got both Ronaldo and Messi, who are brilliant, of course, but they are both in their 30s as well, so they're not far away from being past it.
Lewandowski, Benzema, and I'll give you a good name in regards to Serie A. Ciro Immobile. He's doing fantastic, but he's old.
Immobile.
Yeah. Immobile. Sorry.
I don't think it wants to be called Immobile. I'm sure most of us Brits were calling him Immobile, and then we thought he's anything but that. But well, he's not young though, is he? I think he's in his late 20s, isn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe in 30s.
He's old.
There you go. So, in terms of high quality strikers who are youngish, he's probably one of the very best up there. Of course, Timo Werner's in there as well, but
Werner, that's a good shout. And he's actually cheap.
Yeah, but who would pay 150 mil for him? You know, if I'm most clubs, I'd probably be saying I'd cough up, I don't know, 100, still crazy, and give you a player. Remember, I think we discussed a potential, you you were going crazy when I said, why? What if they suggested Real Madrid, for example, said we'll pay you 100 and we'll give you Jovic, who's about 50 mil.
I was about to say that. I was about to say that. Good mind. Good mind.
Yeah, Jovic is pretty young, and he's not a big enough name yet. He's a very good player, but he's not really been getting quite as many chances at Real Madrid, and he's not a big name. And of course, he's showing a bit of discipline issues, although I've seen discipline issues, and that's not the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, Serge Aurier's got discipline issues. They still play him, but
Your Pogba's apparently got disciplinary issues as well.
yeah, but it's weird
Souness
though. I
was
mean,
even complaining.
he had a tiff with a manager who's just well known for not being a very likable guy, and he's very plastic. You know, he's how many of us just said, "Oh, look, I think I've seen this. I'm really happy face." When he went to Spurs, and then the same guy, out he comes, blaming players, including a guy that's just come. I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Um,
Souness is even, but it's quite funny. Even earlier today, Souness was still complaining about Pogba, always finding an excuse to moan. I love Souness, but it's just quite funny.
what's wrong with you? Why do you? Nobody likes Stunes. Um, Sexist as well. We don't like sexist people.
Oh yeah, apparently, yeah.
There's not apparently about it. We saw it live, and he was just
Yeah, it's
shutting
Alex
down
Scott.
Alex Scott, wasn't he? And the
Yeah,
only, as we all know, the only person you shut down is Jamie Carragher.
yeah. But to be fair,
That's Ragnar.
Souness loves to tackle everyone. So I was interested by that. He was interrupting her a lot. Maybe as some people were just thinking because of her gender, people were assuming he was like that. But he disturbs everyone. He's actually attacked Ed Chamberlain a few times. Excuse me, I'm still talking. So it's a iffy one. I think you have to be careful in Sky because if you're a dinosaur to be sexist, because we've seen Andy Gray, Richard Keys, they were high-profile pundits, and they suffered the boot. Richard Keys did
Very
so many
sexist.
great,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that's the thing. Those two got the boot, and he's not. Thing is, he's not openly basically said women are this, women are that.
Mm.
Whereas you get someone like Jamie Carragher, who's we've got it on camera what he's done. So it's a really inconsistent period for Sky Sports. I don't know why, but and like love or hate Roy Keane, some people like the fact that he's brutally honest. And to be honest, I kind of appreciate it now and again, but sometimes he goes too far. Regularly goes too far. But
It gets back to the topic saying
yeah,
that, anyways, that there aren't that many forwards that are available. And a while ago, we spoke about our players of Hall of Fame, our top 11 players, and we spoke about, unfortunately, in the game of football, because goals are what gets you the wins, even though it's a game sport of 11 players, the attacker's always going to get more of the recognition. Therefore, the fact that there aren't many forwards available to Harry Kane's caliber, he's going to get the higher price tag.
yeah, that's fair. But who's going to pay it? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you ignore what's going on right now, because his price tag's probably going to drop because of this, but if you ignore what's going on right now, who would have paid 150 off the bat?
That's quite a really interesting question, because there is one club you can think of, Real Madrid, but they want
Two,
Mbappe.
PSG. Um,
Yeah, but why would you go PSG? It's like you want
why would
trophies, but you want a
why would
trophy that
Herrera
means,
go to PSG? No, I mean obviously it was because the owners were douchebags. No. Thing is,
yeah,
he deserved a pay rise. He was asking for way too much, but at the same time, you're saving yourself money by coughing up an extra 50 to 100 for a
yeah.
guy that loves playing there and the fans love him. Um, and you don't, because they're the laziest owners in the world who just can't be bothered to look for players and actually commit and to get things done quickly. So,
Ashley Young was getting the money that he hoped to get, like Herrera hoped to get. So that says a lot himself.
There were way
In
too
regards
many.
to
There've been way
yeah,
too many contract renewals in the last couple of
yeah.
years.
But
You
and
know,
then
the only
going back,
reason the only
yeah,
reason that United are keeping Matic for me is because they've clearly decided, well, we're not prioritising a CDM this summer. But
yeah,
if they've got any sense, it's because they're prioritising other key areas, and they're going to spend the next however long, 6 to 12 months from this summer, looking for CDMs and maybe other positions.
yeah.
If that's the case, and they're going to get us the players that we need, good.
Yeah.
They're finally learning. If they still come away with nothing in the summer, then they are as bad as they always have been. But yeah, we've
Well,
obviously another big player we want to discuss quickly, and that's Jadon Sancho. I mean, allegedly, Dortmund are not going to stand in the way of any kind of potential summer exit for him. I mean, it's very believable because of the way Dortmund are. You know, they're very good at bringing in youngsters, making something of them, but they're also going to ask for stupid amounts, aren't they? They're going to get a serious profit out of this.
100%. Why not? If you got a player that's still got many years left in his contract, why not? Same thing with the Harry Maguire situation. You don't need to sell because Dortmund are now a bit more financially stable compared to just over a decade ago when they had to rebuild the whole team in the first place. They've made lots of money from selling Aubameyang and Usama Dembele. Usman Dembele, sorry. Whoops, sorry, Usman Dembele. So they've even sold their defender to PSG last summer. So it's not like they have, and they sold out.
Who?
They made I can't remember his name, a young French defender, um, Diallo, something like that.
Oh, all right.
And also, in addition, they made a profit on Haaland because they might have just bought him for 18 million, sold Alcacer to back to, I think, to Villarreal for 30 million. They're making a lot of profit. So
And Alcacer is one of the older ones as well, so they still made a profit there.
Yeah,
Impressive.
exactly.
True. They
Yeah,
don't have to sell, and I don't think Sancho's going to be disgusted if he doesn't get sold. But I mean, rumors
I think
are
he should
that
stay.
he's very keen on. I think he's very keen on coming to United because,
Mm.
for me, if he comes to United and United don't make Champions League, or indeed if they cancel the league or anything like that, he'd basically be coming in to a Europa League side. And I actually checked the table yesterday from last season, and Arsenal were fifth, believe it or not. Now, even though United went straight to the group stages, that would mean Arsenal, Champions League, and they are the one side in the top 6, 7, 8 who really don't deserve to be anywhere near it at the moment.
That's fascinating. Because before we speak about that, it's also because we're going to lead to a very interesting topic in regards to that particular position of Arsenal being fifth. You just made me remember about a supposed sexist pundit, Jamie Redknapp, asked Harry Redknapp, when should the season end? And Harry Redknapp was definitive that the season must end by June the 30th, which is quite extraordinary as well. And at the top of the head, I'm thinking, oh, you're crazy. And he said, I can understand why a player needs to fulfill their commitments. But he said two very important dates, and it's fundamental, especially for a Tottenham player. Euro 2021, World Cup 2022. How are you going to fit all of that if you're even trying to contemplate a new season and also trying to contemplate trying to fulfill the previous season? You can easily say the World Cup.
I don't think 2022 is a factor, though. It's far enough
It's a
away
World Cup.
I know, but it's far enough away to sort of be able to negotiate games and stuff prior to that. But 2021 is a big issue because, and I see where he's coming from, because he's basically saying, look, even if you slightly delay the league start again, it has to be done quickly because players still need time to rest. And of course, because they've got away with the fact they don't need the Euros anymore, and they've got a lot of resting time between now and a potential resumption, it's okay for them, but they need they are humans. They aren't robots, so they do need time to recuperate and get their energy back, and shut down a little bit. They're getting that chance now, but if you're expecting them to basically switch on for about 9-10 games, it could be like, people starting a season again. When you see them again, they look a bit heavy-legged, lost a bit of chemistry because they can't see each other or anything like that. It's just not ideal.
Yeah.
So I
And Harry
kind of
Kane
understand
was
where he's
really
coming from. Hmm?
yeah. And Harry Kane's really aware of all this stuff because he's a player, part of a Tottenham squad that at the end of World Cup 2018, no other club, perhaps throughout Europe, had the most amount of participants in the final weekend of that World Cup because we had obviously the third playoff was England versus Belgium. They've got Belgian-based players, they've got English-based players throughout the squad, and therefore they came into the season with a small amount of pre-season break, then straight into the season. Oh, they had. Sissoko didn't play in the World Cup. My apologies. Lloris did.
Mhm. Yeah, we
Captain.
all saw that.
Yeah. So therefore, they had so many players going into the season, and they had out of all the clubs the longest season because they got to the Champions League final that was put 3 weeks ahead of the ending of the Premiership, a week or two ahead of the other European nations seasons. So then, therefore, although Tottenham were able to go through another exhausting season, it definitely played a toll into why they performed so badly in this season. And therefore, the argument I'm trying to say is that Harry Kane is aware of the long-term effects if you try to put players through a rigorous schedule, because it might not affect you today or tomorrow. It's going to affect you in a year's time.
Well, that's probably why he wants that deadline, because they'll get a chance to sort of freshen up again, get the season back up and running again. Because look at the Premier League season anyway. Why did they want the winter break to begin with? Because it was just too cramped and they burnt out. So he's basically saying that this gives us a couple of weeks to rest, and we can maybe start the Premier League a few weeks later than usual, and then we can sort of get back on track. I
Yeah.
don't know if they've actually kept the same sort of dates for the Euros next year or not, or whether they've moved them a little bit. I don't know. I can't remember.
And also, as a player, you must be quite peed off. Sorry about the language. Might be really upset that the other Champions League sides did not participate, while Tottenham had so many injuries, didn't really have a lot of players available, and they still exited. Although Leipzig are the team that are in form compared to Tottenham, if Tottenham if whenever this season is to resume, if Tottenham were part of the teams that were still competing in the last 16, they would be better equipped to perhaps perform better and therefore perhaps overturn the 1-0 deficit they had in the first leg and perhaps even proceed. So there are lots of that could be another factor why Tottenham just want the season to get over and done with.
Flip
On
side
this
is
topic,
they probably weren't favourites anyway to progress, and as a result, if they do start again, they only need to focus on the league, whereas other sides probably need to slightly ponder Europe as well. Like Liverpool are out of the league, Liverpool are out of Europe. United are effectively through already. They can actually put out youngsters and keep senior players on the bench just in case. But there's still a game on for some of the other sides. Like Chelsea are basically out, 3-0 losing at home. That's not going to happen against a top quality side. But Man City's game is very live.
yeah.
They got the
Real
edge,
Madrid
but
just
it's very
yeah.
live.
Real Madrid just need one away goal. Well, actually, no, they need
Mm-mm.
two away goals. Actually, two.
Yeah,
They need two. Sorry.
they have to win outright.
Yeah.
They'd probably be hoping for a win with potentially high scoring from their perspective, and then they'll go through an away goals. But that's the thing. So you got one live game from an English perspective, but it's a one game shootout anyway. So I don't know. I kind of agree with where he's coming from, but
Yeah.
he says he wants it done by the end of June. So when would be the latest they'd be willing to start?
Yeah.
The start of
Exactly.
June, maybe. It's tight.
Also, and also, let's not disregard that this, in a in a very weird way, Qatar wants the World Cup to happen in the winter of 2022. This will help legislate for that to be a possibility now.
Yeah, who would have thought? Yeah, it could very well be a good reason actually to have.
It's fascinating
Yeah,
to think about how of that possibility,
it's actually
how
no longer a
life works.
problem if they have
Yeah.
scheduling delays. Because you can finish the league later if you wanted to. What if you finished the
Yeah.
league in August or September or something crazy like that? If it came to, I'm not saying aim for that, but
Yeah.
if it came to that,
And
in
Xavi might
22,
become the manager. Xavi might become a manager. He's at manager Al Zard right now, or he rejected Barcelona. He might join Barcelona eventually, but he's doing quite well with the Brazilian so-called Qataris. The best name I've ever heard from you, Mohamed Dino. That's awesome.
well, I think he's got everybody's blessings and well wishes. So Xavi keeps smashing it, my friend. I wish he was my friend. He's so cool. Okay, we need to move on. What was our next topic? Yeah,
You brought it up.
yeah, so what
Brilliant.
we it was just briefly touching on an article we read about how Man City believe that Arsenal are behind a Premier League club plot to have the UEFA ban upheld. Well, I think the point I made earlier was why are Arsenal? Why do Arsenal care? I mean, they, they probably want the whole league to be cancelled because they will go into the Champions League if the ban is upheld, which is my way of thinking about it. But if they continue the league and they finish it off, I just can't see how they're going to finish fifth. They're not out of the mix, of course, but they're not really in it. I probably trust Sheffield United more than Arsenal because they're just more consistent, aren't they?
Exactly. Just look at that Olympiacos game. Like they were, they had a good result at Olympiacos in the first leg, and then Olympiacos dominated Arsenal, and it was very weird. And unfortunately, what happens at Arsenal, they are so heavy reliant on one player, despite having a squad full of top attacking players. What happened is that unfortunately, even though he brought them back into the game, into the brink of actually winning that tie, his miss at the end, due to the defensive errors that Arsenal went through, taints his whole season. And it's really unfortunate for Aubameyang, but it just shows how Arsenal aren't perhaps equipped to be able to even be able to compete in the Champions League.
Do you reckon that potential rumor, if it's true, or that belief, is solely down to Arsenal maybe hoping that the whole league gets cancelled because it would put them into the Champions League as things stand.
That's enough. It's a fascinating topic because a lot of clubs are willing for the season to be voided and to be seen as null. Liverpool are getting upset about it as well. Apparently, Liverpool are also one of those sides that want the season to be nullified. I mean, that they want Liverpool. So Liverpool are one of the sides that also want Man City's position to not to be upheld and not for them not to participate in the Champions League, in which there's a lot of inside politics in regards to these clubs' competitiveness, and it goes beyond the football pitch, my friend. and it could be the situation where every club is so aggressive towards each other and they want to ruin each other. I can definitely see that being a factor that Arsenal want to destroy Man City's hopes of getting to the
Or
Champions League.
or they're basically saying just stick to the rules.
Well,
you
that's the
break
thing.
you broke the rules, so bye
Did
bye.
they? That's the
Oh
speculation.
come on.
That's
If
it's
if it was Sheffield United, I'd be like, well, clearly there's been a mishap here. There's been a misunderstanding. Man City, Real Madrid, PSG, maybe even Bayern Munich or Barca or Juve, one of them teams, less so, but maybe them. Um, if it was any of those, I'd be thinking, they've brought this up for a reason. Whereas, I mean, if it's a lower side, you just think there's been an absolute idiotic moment, and they'll probably get punished for it straight away, and they're not going to even dispute it, or there's been some sort of misunderstanding.
but always what the thing I always say is that the same argument that Man City are using, in which there's still no paper documented evidence to suggest that they did taint the results of the figures of how much Etihad Airways was able to invest in them. How come PSG are continuously getting away with it? I always because they have spent more money in terms of players. No way is people or can they justify the TV contractual deals? Because no offense, we cost the French league as the Farmers League. How can they warrant such high figures being awarded to PSG in order for that league to be watched, compared to Man City, that is a dominant force of the most appealing league in the whole world? I just don't. I think if PSG were to get punished, then yes, punish Man City.
They
I'll
have
say that bluntly.
exactly, yeah, because they have technically been punished before, but
Yeah,
it's like, and then we'll go again. We'll do it again.
yeah.
We'll do it next
And
summer.
then
Brilliant.
no UEFA, yeah, and the UEFA actually. Then what happened? Both Man City and PSG had their Champions League squads reduced from 25 players to 21, and then they were fined 20 millions. That got reduced, and they were able to get refunded. And then after Neymar and Mbappe transfers, UEFA held a secret review of what PSG's transfer dealings were about, and then UEFA deemed it was unsatisfactory. Whilst with the Man City situation, emails were apparently leaked in which they suggested that the money may not have been some private investment from the chairman himself, and the aviation manufacturers stock Wall Street of aviation stores. Wall Street papers were also accusing Etihad Airways of not following the rules, although Etihad Airways will continuously deny this. They had, I think, some money. They apparently didn't have the best figure amounts of money in their stocks. However, Etihad denied that they were in a bad financial situation and that they did have money. So it's a lot of problems like that.
You just don't know who to trust, really. That's the problem. I mean, when you've got clubs are supported so well by fans, like Liverpool, like United, like Newcastle United, even. I mean, they as low as they've dropped, their fans are incredibly loud. The atmosphere is incredible, um, and the support is incredible, and they're genuine fans. They're
Yeah,
paying, then they're buying merchandise aplenty.
yeah.
They're filling out the stadiums. They're buying loads and loads of tickets. Um, but look what happens when City go on a bad run. I mean, the Etihad's a big stadium, and there are plenty of seats just missing. I mean, plenty of gaps in the seats. I mean, it's frankly absurd. It's how do you applaud fickle fans or fans that aren't proper fans? As a United fan, I'm sure I'm going to be, um, you know, made fun of an awful lot because of the fact that I'll cheer for them, of course. I really want them to do well, but you've got to also be ready to criticize them if they are not doing the right things. But as fans, you just ride it out with them. You're supposed to go,
Mm.
go through their ups and enjoy their ups and go through their downs with them, and they're not even turning up. It's not even the
Sometimes it
same
is.
Yeah, but it's not the same situation as with Arsenal, for example, where not only are they not turning up, but they're also protesting against the fact that the ticket prices are ridiculously priced. It is a
Arsenal
very well
fans,
supported club. It's a very well supported club, to be fair. Why on earth are they charging so much? You can make an absolute killing if you just reduce the price to a sensible amount, you know?
exactly. They created one of our rivals, Arsenal fan club, Arsenal fan TV. Sorry, that is just basically people saying, "Well, go on, bruv, that team was rubbish. You got me, mate, bruv, bruv, bruv."
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I've
it's
seen,
just
is it Robbie, who's the main fan,
yeah,
the main host? He's probably one of the most neutral ones out there. He's still obviously got
yeah.
his allegiance, but he's very neutral. But some of them, um, actually, there's a really big guy, and I think he calls himself Heavy D. And the reason I know him is because I've watched Storage Hunters. And
Oh, Storage
Dave,
Hunters is good.
yeah, and
Which one? The UK based or the American?
there's a really big guy on the UK one, yeah, and he's like, boom, that's him. And I saw him on TV once. I'm like, what? Oh my god, he's like, he's actually unbearable all the time. Brilliant.
Oh,
Um,
brilliant.
but yeah, he's very annoying. But
But it's an example of a club that where the fans themselves have actually taken advantage of the club's peril in order to benefit their own gain of their own YouTube channel, which has actually grown it's grown so much that Gary Neville, arguably the best pundit there is, had to even become a guest at one of the shows.
well, coincidentally, I think another guy from the fan channel DT has done a call on a United fan channel. Yeah, it's going both ways clearly. But yeah, we need to quickly move on. What's the next topic? Coincidentally, we're talking about City and no, not yet. We're talking about
Oh,
City and Ilkay Gundogan, who has actually said,
yeah.
well, he'd be quite happy with the title being. Would you stop that? The title being, he's a child. The title being awarded to Liverpool.
It's
Let's keep this quick.
ethics.
Hmm?
It's ethics. It's ethics. It's
Yeah.
ethics. Like
So,
Liverpool
so
haven't not really cheated.
yeah, I'm not saying they have. It's ethically therefore right that you basically keep the league as it is. I'm sorry, guys, I haven't played their game in hand, but sorry, we've been told to keep the league as it is because we really want to give the title to Liverpool.
Well, I think he was just saying that no matter what, that Liverpool are worthy title
No
winners.
one's, yeah,
They
but
are going to win the title
no
regardless.
one's debating that. But the
Yeah,
word,
I think that's what he's
he,
saying.
but he sort of basically said, "I'm not against them being given the title." I think I might even have the article up. Fair to award Liverpool title.
Yeah, and they're like
To
such big
award.
rivals.
To award. To give them.
My English is third language, Turkish, German, so it could
Yeah, but
perhaps a
it's on BBC. I'm
possibility.
sure they would more often. I've seen interviews where they've said something and then the subtitles are basically adding or removing words. I'm thinking, that's not what I just heard.
Yeah,
So it might be right that they are deserving champions. It's not fair to just award it to them. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, not the best words he used, I guess.
No, it's quite simple that in terms of the scenarios you've got three choices. One is to completely cancel the whole season. The second one is the least feasible, which is leaving it exactly where it is and just ending the season because you're going to start more issues. I think there probably would be fewer complaints actually if you ended the season. As a United fan, it would be annoying because, well, we were in the Europa League last year and we're in a position to maybe be in the Champions League next year by right, whether it's fifth or not. Arsenal will probably see it as an opportunity to start fresh. The relegation strugglers will see that as an opportunity to come back stronger next year. But then sides above the relegation zone will be thinking, well,
That's
damn,
the
they
Premiership.
might buy me in there.
Yeah, that's the Premiership. The Championship, whole different ball game where the sides down on the top
Yeah,
bottom
but
three are stepping up.
it's the same situation in each of these leagues. I'm just using that as an example, but it'll be the same problem because
But
Leeds,
I love
Leeds,
your
and
analogy.
Leeds and Leeds and West Brom are going to say, but yeah, but we're top.
Yeah,
Derby will say, yeah, but we're right behind them. We can take them. And then some other sides will be saying, yeah, but we can make the playoffs. Relegation sides are going to be saying, oh, we're like 20 points away from safety. Go for it. They're not going to want to
no,
be relegated. They lose so much money in the process.
I love the analogy by us because unfortunately, because we've been missing the league so much that we should have both looked at the table. We all both presumed Man United were fifth, and we thought Sheffield United was the team that was too far behind. So it's interesting how maybe as you're a Man United fan, how your analogy may be more, your preference may be more to be further away from freezing the season. Because I think we spoke before that we both were confused. That's not to say that we should have checked. It's just to say that there's so much happening, and it shows the nature of what's happening in football right now. You don't always expect someone just to see one thing. So many things are happening. So many things are constantly evolving. So much news is happening. Even after our last podcasts, Man City's also came up some brilliant news related to the subject of yesterday as well. So a lot of things are happening in football throughout. Let
Yeah.
you mention the Man City thing,
What Man City thing?
the Etihad Stadium, that they are going to offer it. So basically, how
Oh, are they?
Watford and
Oh, yeah.
so they're going to offer it. So they're going to use the stadium's facilities to help offer more potential ICU beds for anyone that may that needs it. Good on them.
Yeah, I didn't.
May
There was a
have
cheeky
Gallagher
side of
on the
me.
guitar.
There was a cheeky
Oh,
side of me that sort of said I didn't think they had kindness in their hearts, but it's in times like this that everyone's got to pull together. Doesn't matter who your allegiance are. It's like when England are in a major competition, you've got to just put all your club allegiances aside. This is about the country. Cheer on your team. Cheer on your nation. Um, you know,
cheer, cheer on
when you're
Gerrard, cheer on Carragher, cheer on all the like non players from the
yeah.
different clubs.
I really hoped Henderson did really, really well. He was outstanding in 2018.
Yeah,
He was brilliant. I thought Stones played really well as well. I wouldn't be cheering on him. I've, for all those that you didn't know, I mean, I've liked Harry Maguire since he was at Sheffield United, so a very, very big fan for a very long time. So obviously wanted him to do well with the knowledge that he wasn't already a United player. So no additional allegiances to him, aside from the fact that I liked him as a player. So, but no, I mean, it's really good that everyone's trying to pull together, keep doing it, and we'll get through it. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We've got one more topic quickly to discuss, and then we'll end. It's going to be one of our shorter videos, but yeah, tell us actually, guys, in the comments, do you guys like having really long videos, or like deep discussions, or do you like a quick update or a quick chat about certain topics and then moving on? We'd love to see what your opinion is. I mean, if you like these long discussions, extended chats, and Sean's tangents and his weird toys that he keeps holding up, then let us know. But if you're just if you'd like us to be a bit briefer on certain topics or something like that, and give you just a quick summary and update on what's going on,
I
let us
thought you were
know.
gonna talk. I thought you was getting angry talking about if you want Sean to continuously show random toys, a Goomba from Mario, then, or if you do not want
No,
him
no,
to say, comment below.
that was used as a negative side. Uh, now you've been told. But our final topic is on a bit of F1. So obviously, in one of our episodes a few days ago, in fact, we were discussing about how they were using esports as a method of passing time, and various drivers and celebs competing against each other. I watched the Bahrain one; it was quite fun actually. But the head of Ferrari, as it happens, oh gosh, I've forgotten his name. I should know this. I'm a F1 fan. Matteo Binotto. He has suggested that they could potentially extend the F1
Season.
season to January. Now, I've probably got more of an opinion on this because I'm a huge F1 fan, but you, as a sort of occasional viewer, if that, or a sparse viewer, or maybe not at all, what do you think about that? I mean, they've only technically would have just started the season. They tend to start in March, so they've not really missed more than maybe one, maybe two races.
So
What do you
rather
think?
than ending, so it shows that there's already some planning going on. Rather than ending the season in November, they are assuming that the season will end 2 months later, which suggests that they're hoping that the whole pandemic will tone down a bit within 2 months. A lot of people are suggesting that it all. Let's all say that unfortunately it's a regurgitated conversation that we've seen on TV. It really does depend on every single one of us how, when all sport, everything can happen if you just stay isolated. Stop throwing stop buying, stop piling, because there's even a report that so much fresh food was thrown in the bin.
Just
If free,
spend some time listening to us idiots on a video
yeah,
call.
that's all you need to do, and then we get
waste
sports
waste
back,
half
and
an
that's
hour to an
all.
hour with us, and
Yeah,
you've passed some time in the day. Because, guys,
exactly.
we are here to basically do videos on a daily basis. So
Yeah,
you wake up in the morning, you'll hopefully find a video from us waiting for
yeah.
you.
If, and while you're working, because we're all like working at home, just have us on the, below. You don't need to just watch us on the video if you don't want to see both our handsome faces, or if you don't want to see him. Just put us on the side. You're working at home, you can afford to listen to us, and you
Yeah.
can mute the kids in it. It's all
Well,
good.
we've had the occasional video problems. First you by yourself, and then both of us on the same video, which was fun. Um, and it effectively became a podcast, or in the case where you weren't appearing, it was just me talking to a photo of Sean in many weird
And then our
guises.
photos, the descent of madness of Taz as the conversation continued. That
Yeah,
was a brilliant editing effect by us.
yeah, Sean did enjoy that one. He didn't really get creative with his own photos. He just thought, let's just show Taz's descent into sheer anger at Sean with these images. But yeah, so Mateo's obviously said extending it to January. I'd like to add though, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's his way of saying we'll extend it by 2 months, because by having this pandemic break, if you want to call it that, they've decided to, I think, cancel or postpone the usual summer break that they have in August, I think it is, July, August. They usually have about 3 or 4 weeks where I think for two of them, nobody's at the factories. Everyone just relaxes and takes some time away. But they basically said that's going to be cancelled. So in effect, you're getting 3 months more out of it. If that makes sense. So when whether it gets going again, if it gets going again, that's the other thing.
I've got a good question for you. because of the way what's happening is unpredictable. What's happening, and if there's a situation where hopefully, we all hope Italy and Spain or that everyone recovers as soon as possible, but we're all praying that England does not go through a similar predicament. If that's a possibility, that other countries as well, like in Germany as well, has a limited amount of people getting affected by coronavirus and the situation reduces by its time. Is it possible? Do you think it's possible that they could, instead of having some circuits in the more affected areas, they can perhaps have one or two races at the same place at Silverstone GP? A lot of people love going to Silverstone. A lot of people will probably envy the opportunity of having some races repeated twice in one venue, rather than even like going to Malaysia, although it's perhaps getting a bit better in Malaysia. So that's perhaps a possibility where they would have to repeat it. Do you think it may lead to that conundrum?
Having repeat races in the same venue.
Yeah.
I don't think that will happen. No, it's not really a factor, I don't think.
Okay.
I just think if they're going to be races at certain venues, then they'll happen and they'll move on. If they can't do anything at a certain race, they'll either cancel that race completely from the calendar or postpone it and then move it to a later date, either after the scheduled races have happened or not. But I mean, we're in a position where we might not get any movement in anything for 6 months, I think they're saying. I think they've given us that figure both to sort of give people an idea of what's going on, but also a bit of a scare factor because there are still people who aren't actually complying and listening and staying at home. I believe the TfL said that there was a 90% reduction of travellers on the tube, but London is still very populous, and 10% is a huge amount of people. You know,
The TfL thing is a bit of a very irritating situation in the first place. Like some countries around the world, even in India, China, what they are experiencing.
goodness, I've
If
seen that.
people,
Yeah.
if people are, if there's still people that are being forced to work because of their bosses, don't reduce the amount of trains that are available. I know it's affecting them financially, but the government said they try to support every possible agency. Have more trains available in order to support those that still are being forced to work, especially the much needed health workers. So therefore, it limits the distances from each other. And I think the 6 month protocol is saying that it's the worst. There's always different tangents in health and everything. It's the reason why I say 6 months is hopefully within a month or two, the worst of it will go. But for the remaining 6 months, be aware of your distances. And if anything, it's going to teach us very important thing. When the grandmother would tell you when we were young, wash your hands, you actually do it. Hygiene is so essential. Like like first thing they teach you in dental school, how to wash your hands, go through everything. And this is what
Yeah.
this is all
It
about,
sounds like a silly thing
hygiene.
to tell people, but it's very serious in normal situations. Never mind this one. Just hygiene.
Exactly.
You've got to just look
Yeah,
after yourself and in the process look after other people.
that's
And
all it
because we
is.
still don't understand how this actually spread to begin with.
Yeah. And the
Um,
most important part is a lot of people that even perhaps because have the symptoms, it's like a flu. You're gonna have some, you're gonna be a bit ill, but the majority of people that are unfortunately gonna get hurt are those. When I mean hurt, are gonna really suffer. There are people that are young and tend to suffer a lot, like Charlie Austin alluded to, Valley in our previous interview. A lot of young people have died, but the majority are the elderly. So it's about also respecting distances and respecting other people, empathy. That's what life should be all about.
well, absolutely. Well, that's a sad moment to end on, isn't it? But No, we. I mean, that's literally what everyone has to do. I mean, for all you sports fans out there, of course, we are a sports channel. So for all you sports fans out there, if you really want sport to come back sooner, listen to what's being said to you
Yeah.
and stay at home.
Yeah.
If you
And
want it to come back and if you want to occupy and fill out those stadiums, it's because everybody has stayed at home unless they've got an absolute necessity to go out and get grocery shopping or medicine. And that's the only way we'll see it through much
yeah.
quicker. Um,
And we got one more advice for you guys. After you watch the 6-7 hours of our current content, if for those wrestling fans out there, the WWE Network is free. It's free. You don't need to put your bill information, your card if you don't want to. You can literally watch WrestleManias. You can watch some of the great documentaries. It's fantastic. And
but
I'll
watch their
probably even
videos
mention,
after you've seen ours. Watch ours first.
yeah, exactly. Because we give sports variety. You don't, and
Exactly. We're daily.
that's what you want.
They're not daily. They're looking back. We're trying to look forward. So,
Exactly.
but what I'll quickly add again is don't forget to like the video. Please leave your comments below and, of course, subscribe. Is it there? There we go. There it is. Somewhere around there
Yeah.
for you. No, wrong side, you melon.
Oh, oh,
That way. That way.
oh,
You've got to see it the way they're seeing it. That way.
oh, yes.
But yeah, please subscribe. Leave your comments below if you've got any kind of thoughts on what you've heard, any opinions and things like that. So Sean and I are also thinking of starting up maybe a weekly or bi-week, twice a week set of top tens as well. I reckon it'll be good to start on a particular type of position, so top 10 something in the world. What do you fancy? Attacker, strikers, midfielders, defenders, goalies? What would you like to do?
That's what we're here for, you guys to comment. And
No,
as Hulk Hogan
I'm
would
asking
say,
you.
oh,
If they don't ask for it first,
I think every
we need to
position,
decide.
I think we can go for each position, but in
I know
particular,
that,
what
but I
we
mean,
know.
we've got to pick one.
So
What I've got to deal with, guys.
So I'll give you guys an inside story. When there's actually not inside story, watch the actual podcast. So when we were trying to decide our top 11 of retired professionals, we noticed that the particular positions that had a lot of contenders were the central positions of defense, midfield, and attack. I would love if we can for each position because you can't. We struggled. It's actually a struggle.
Yeah,
A
but
lot
we're
of
not
people had
we're not
commented.
we're not saying we're not going to do the others. We're just basically saying to
Yeah.
trying to decide which one we're going to do first.
No, exactly. But I mean, there were so many options, and we could easily, for each one, talk about it. And there was a lot of players that weren't even suggested in our call-ins, and other people had commented. And unfortunately, some people too shy to even comment in the first place, but
Yeah,
spoke to us one-on-one.
I think
There were players.
we can definitely do a best of in the past, old players. But I think all right, seeing as you're not going to make a decision, how about we start with the 10 best strikers out there right now in the world, as far as we know.
We started our Harry Kane earlier today, so in this podcast, so why not?
Well, don't give the whole list away. Calm down.
Yeah.
Well, Sean and I are going to basically do our own research, make sure we've got our stats in place, got our own strong
And Formula
opinions in
One.
place.
We were doing Formula One earlier as well when we were speaking about Lewis Hamilton in the first place. We spoke about a lot of the very talented drivers that's been around since Massa, with Alonso, with Button. So that's another possibility to go
We can
to
do
as
a
well.
top 10 greatest F1 drivers as well. I don't think there's any point in doing a kind of current best F1 drivers on track because when you'll just be left with the 10 highest scorers from last season.
Makes it easy though.
I think it's easier to do an F1 all-time list than it is to do a kind of best of the last decade. Um, and I love the controversy. I love
Yeah,
having your own opinion. Okay, so for you
like
guys,
this guy.
next video is going to be a top 10 um, strikers right now. So, well, right, not necessarily on form, but just I mean like the best 10 strikers. You know what I mean? But yeah, in anticipation of that, as always, like I said, click subscribe, leave your comments, like this video, give us an idea of what kind of content you want to see, and we will obviously try looking out to stick those out on there. And until then, we'll see you in the next video. See you later.
Aston Bolonga of Middlesbrough. That's the spoiler.